Hello everybody and welcome to another Arkham Horror List video. Today we are going to be talking about cards that changed how we thought about the game. Obviously this is very kind of just personal into us and how it's changed our playstyle, etc, etc. So we're going to see cards that kind of shaped and changed how we've played Arkham Horror, or how we've looked at Arkham Horror through our very long time of playing this game, since the time Travis said, I brought 2 copies of this over, let's play, and then the Ghoul Priest came and we were like, what? As a side note, I'll never forget the time, Travis, where we played the second time, just you and we killed it so quickly, and I was like, how the frick did we... how the frick was this so hard at first? But it is. The Ghoul Priest is scary at first. But let's dive in and go to our number 5s. Bryn, what's yours?
We got Preston Fairmont. So, during the Circle Undone spoilers, there was no card I was so excited for as Preston Fairmont. They showed this guy off and they were like, check it out, he gets 4 extra money every turn, that's sweet. He gets these lodge debts, they say you gotta pay 10 to get rid of him or take a mental trauma. Oh yeah, also his numbers are all 1. Like, alright. How do we make that work? Started thinking about how do we try to win a game without passing a test, because we can't. We got ones. It's not going to happen. He makes a whole lot of cards that were otherwise very bad, like Turkey Time,
Turkey Time.
Dig Deep, and what's the green one called? Hard Knocks. They were very bad, but in Preston, they're kind of good. Just it's a wildly different take on how you play the game.
It is true. It just, his style is just like, even like back then, I mean, I remember how excited you were. It was very much Bryn's, like, this is like a Bryn card. It was like the card that, like, we looked at, Travis and I, and we were like, what the frick is going on here? He has 1s in all of his stats?
I guess this is the expansion where green's still bad.
Yeah. they got Finn in the Forgotten Age, and then they were like, okay, back to the grinder with you.
Into the trash.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. That's very fair, Bryn. My number 5 is Earthly Serenity. And this card has now made me not hate healing. I've never liked, because to me, if you've watched this channel or if you watch the list videos, you know the most important thing for me is efficiency. I don't care about doing fancy things where I get a bunch of cool tricks going. I want to, my third action on my first turn better be a basic fucking investigate, or I feel like a failure. Like, that's how I want to play. So the majority of the healing in this game has been really awful for my play style. I look at it and I'm like, yuck, puke, yucky, poo-poo. But Earthly Serenity, especially after I tried it out, I played with it, it plays even better than it reads. Which is kind of crazy. So now I can look at other things, and actually in the video we just recorded that's going to be out on Sunday, it's very true. Like, it's been an evolution for me to how now I look at healing and how I can take advantage of it. I'm still very much a soak boy. I like to soak, but Earthly Serenity has changed now how I even approach it as a thought process and how I personally grade healing in this game as well. Just took a really busted 4 experience card for me to get there.
I wouldn't say Earthly Serenity is busted. It's just like...
Yeah, busted is the wrong word.
Actually good.
It's just good. Yeah, busted's wrong. If it, like, had 12 charges and your brain was 15, that would be kind of sick.
Yeah.
But, yeah. No, I think that's fair. Travis, what's your number 5?
That's the 25 on that. I think this is the first time I saw a green card printed that I was actually excited about playing with. I think this card is really nice, really neat. I think it's got a really, really good design. It just fits so perfectly into what green is trying to do while still being like good.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it makes evade matter, which is normally like kind of gimmicky and do nothing. The +2 punch helps leverage their mediocre punch scores. It combines nicely and efficiently with cards like Cheap Shot, and it's 2 experience, which is just it's it's 2 experience. It fits into all the green investigators. It's so nice.
Yeah.
It's such a brilliantly designed card, and I look at this card. I'm like, man, I want to play with this, and then consequently means I want to play with other green cards, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Sick.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right.
think the only complaint I could ever bring against this card is that Rita can't play it,
Oh, it would be good in her, huh?
Just because she's
because
garbage.
that would be sweet.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of her like challenging someone to a foot race and then shooting them in the kneecap and being like, "Oh no, I win!"
You fucking lose.
Yeah,
As she's just running past the finish line. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's great. All right. Let's go to our number 4. Bryn, what do you got?
I got lockpicks. This is the first time green cards were good, and I'd been trying to make them good until this point. They kind of just weren't, for the most part. There's honestly not much, actually. Yeah. Oh, never mind. I have no further argument, Your Honor. No. Lockpick's good. Make green character good. Uh, showed off what would be the beginning of pretty much the design file for the next 3 years of green cards.
Yeah.
What if add foot to other number? What if add 2 numbers together make a good number?
Green take 2.
Wow.
Green take 1 bad number, 1 good number, make great number.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. It's also now, it's in the revised core, so even then they were like, man, we really should have pushed this out sooner. And it being in the revised core is actually like huge for green players when they're just starting out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because if you want to play skids, tough shit.
Yeah, yeah. And,
Like
yeah.
if you've got revised core revised core, it's a little different. It's a little different. There's things you can do.
Yeah.
But in the original core, you were like, Roland, can I have the beat cop? And he was like, no.
Fuck off and die.
And you were like, cool, 3s it is. All right, let's go.
Yeah. My number 4 is Delve Too Deep. This game taught me pretty early on, like this card where I was like, because you play Eldritch Horror, you play Arkham Horror 2nd Edition, and you hate the Mythos phase. You just absolutely hate it. But Delve Too Deep was the beginning of me seeing that the Mythos phase in this game, it ain't that scary. So much so that you can actually kind of like use cards like this to game it. Like Drawn to the Flame had this kind of same philosophy, but I think with the 2 clues wasn't as exciting and enticing as 1 XP. At this point now, this Delta Deep doesn't see play in much, if any, of my decks anymore. Just because like the campaigns already give out victory like candy. But in the early on, this game taught me victory was important. Number 1, victory was fun and exciting, but also that the deck isn't that scary. And that's carried over very much into my playstyle, especially as like my survivor-focused playstyle. I'm not like, it's just not scary. It's the deck. Who cares? I'll just survive it. Wait, do you think that's why they're called survivors? Holy shit! It just, just like it all clicked in. Travis, is this a green investigator for your number 4 that you would want to play 25 automatic with?
It is, but that's not actually why it's here. The reason that this card is here is because of that Dark Horse Finite deck I played, which is the first time that I really felt like I kind of not only thought outside the box, but like it broke down, realizing that like cards like Dark Horse could be good in other investigators that weren't red. Really broke down a lot of barriers in terms of deck building for me. Where previously I was like, Dark Horse is a red card you play, red investigators, they're the ones suited to it. And I was like, hey, maybe you can play it in someone who can just play a couple of red cards, who isn't like, whose card pool isn't necessarily designed for it, and you can make it work. And a lot as like the more I explored the idea, more like weird I started approaching like cards that weren't traditionally good, like treasure hunter and hired muscle, and realizing alternative uses or more niche uses for cards that were already good, like Faustian Bargain, and it all just kind of started clicking.
Sick.
It was a really big a brain blast for those of you who are the same age as me and used to watch Jimmy Neutron, I guess.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't get that reference, but I do dig it.
Yeah, it's because you're old, Justin.
Yeah, I'm only a little bit older than you. I'm not too much of a grandpa yet. For reference for people who are curious, I will put the Finn Edwards deck guide that we did for that deck, Travis and I, in the description for this one, because the deck is really cool and really fun.
It's actually good too.
It's also, very good too.
Yeah, it turns out that like 2 5s in a stat line, holy shit.
Yeah, holy shit.
Oh my god.
All right, Brand, what's your number 3?
I got William Yorick. So for those of you who watch or choose to listen to me speak, which is honestly a little weird to me still, you know that I like William Yorick. He's my favorite. But also, ever since he came out, every time that I look at cards from a new expansion, I'm like, all right, rub my hands together. Like, which ones make me discard them?
What can I throw away?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking through the cards and I'm like, yeah, this one's an asset. It says discard it when it's empty. Let's go.
That's for my board. And it also makes you angry at cards too, like the upgraded Cherished Keepsake.
Yeah. Why doesn't it go to my discard pile? That's garbage.
Man, I love the tone because your there was like, Justin just ruined my fun. I was having fun talking about Will Yorick, but now I'm angry.
It is, yeah. Like there has been nothing so disappointing to me as that. Mm-hmm. In this game, I should clarify that there have been many more disappointing things to me in my life, but like, as far as this game goes,
that's up there.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
No, but this guy's changed the way that I view every new expansion. Mm-hmm. Like the things I'm excited about, I'm like, oh man, this bandages card says that when it's got no supplies, we discard it, and it doesn't suck. Mm-hmm. Maybe I could play that 6 times in a game with Will.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And he did.
I mean, like I haven't yet.
Yeah,
I've only played
you
bandages with Bob Jenkins, but like also 6 times with Bob Jenkins, so you know.
Yeah, but I mean, like I'm sure someone will watch this video in like 2024, and you have done it by then.
Yeah. I suppose like, you know, Bob Jenkins being one of my favorite investigators shouldn't be a surprise, given that this guy was the first one that I was like, yeah, this guy's the shit.
Yeah. No, Yeah, no, when I knew you would love Bob. I mean, like, it's very simple. You get a skill-based investigator, Justin loves it. Asset-based investigator, Bryn loves it. Guy that can play practice makes perfect, Travis loves it.
Yeah.
My number 3 is I'm Out of Here. It's less the fact that, like, I want to run away from my problems, but more so the fact that this card has taught me that you actually, like, teching for a campaign can be very advantageous. Recently, Bryn and I have been playing a lot of Lord of the Rings, and even Travis, Bryn, and I, we play Lord of the Rings on this channel a bunch. The philosophy for that game is that you change your deck to suit the encounter you're playing. We didn't really do that in Lord of the Rings, but in the progress thing, Bryn and I have actively been doing it, like treating it like a puzzle. And I always felt as though that Arkham Horror didn't really have that. But then recently is like, and by recently I mean like within the last 2 to 3 years, it's now like the point where I'm like, okay, I'm playing a green character and I'm starting in the Forgotten Age. It's probably not a bad idea if I run an I'm Out of Here and a Fine Clothes in my deck, right? Like that there's these cards that you don't keep, like they upgrade out pretty early, but rather than doing something like, say for example, an Inquiring Mind, which I would normally do, because you know it has 3 wild symbols and my number gets big and that makes me like go, ooh. But instead, tech for the campaign, right? Take those cards that are actually beneficial early on and then get rid of those and make your replacement, your 29th and 30th card tech cards, and you actually have a better time and you win more because of it. And I'm Out of Here is a big thing for that, specifically because of the second scenario in the Forgotten Age. That's like where it really started becoming a thing to actually plan for that. Yeah, so I'm out of here just kind of represents that whole thing of like cards that you don't play because they're good, but cards you play because you can specifically tech against stuff. Travis, what's your number 3?
This is Kind Distraction. This one comes from the infamous draft Forgotten Age challenge we did, where none of us enjoyed it, but we all had a good time.
Yeah.
I have never seen like a single card, or I learned a lot of things from that campaign. I've never seen a single card carry us so hard through the entire campaign. This card was clutch every time I had it, and it won us several. Honestly, probably most of the scenarios. Also from that campaign, I learned that if you take a pile of investigators, even if the cards are awful, if you play well and get a little bit lucky, you can make some pretty impressive stuff happen.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah, like even the most unlikely, it's like throwing a turkey at the winged monkeys.
And you're like, I can't
you
believe
don't really
that,
expect it to work.
Yeah, I can't believe that worked. Amen, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Sick. All right, Bryn, what's your number 2?
We got eidetic memory. Now, this could have been any one of at least a half dozen different cards. But this is the one I picked because this is the one that I noticed first. Not like today, but during the course of playing the game. That's made me look at cards differently. Notably to see whether they were an insight or not. Of course, there are many cards like this these days, but back in Carcosa, there kind of weren't. There was, you could look at the top 9 cards of your deck for a weapon, but you don't need to check to see if an item's a weapon or not. You know. You're not going to be like, oh man, guys, check it out. This thing's a weapon. No, it's pretty clear cut, right? But with eidetic memory, who knows? Anything could be an insight. Any kind of event could be an insight if you haven't already checked. And then these days, it also has the secondary upside of being a spirit, which is a trait that many other cards care about too. It's kind of cool.
Hell yeah. My number 2 is Finn Edwards. This guy, when I played him for the first time when he came out, I have a very distinct memory of Travis coming over early one day when we were recording, and I just told him, man, Finn Edwards, this guy has changed my life. Because at this point, we just were evading. That's only for the Ghoul Priest when you're Wendy and you're stuck in a corner and you need to do something when your first time playing the game. We never really actively ever wanted to evade. But then I was playing Finn, and I was like, wow, this is actually not bad. And Finn then made me explore a different play style, which is that now you can grade each enemy individually and be like, does this thing need to die? Because before it was always I might as well kill every enemy. And then with Finn, I was like, okay, so what if I don't kill this enemy? What if I approach this enemy with a different strategy? And then I was also it changed me in a way where I was like, maybe I like the evade strategy. And then, unfortunately, Rita came out in the next expansion and ruined that for me. I think she came out in the Circle Undone, but Rita changed that for the worst. But Finn made me look at a new style of play that I didn't look at before, and then also had me now approach enemies, where I was like, okay, so this basically changed it from kill on sight to let's look at how this enemy is and do we actually need to solve this problem. He also taught me about him and Ursula came out at the same time, where actions that have the bolded keyword are really nice when you get to do those for free, because you can also do things from your hand and stuff like that, which is nice. Travis, what's your number 2?
This is Dr. Milan. This one goes hand in hand with Wendy from the core set. These are two core set cards that we vastly underestimated when they came out. And I feel like I really kind of came of age, as it were, with regards to skill and like card evaluation in the game when I realized exactly how busted Dr. Milan and Wendy were. Dr. Milan in particular, because I play him a lot more and I like him more. So he gets to be the face of this. Yeah, no, just like realizing exactly how valuable the +1 book and the theoretically infinite resources from Dr. Milan were, and for Wendy, the just redrawing a chaos token every turn, how good that was, especially since Wendy was like the two classes that weren't really good at anything.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, just realizing exactly how strong those cards were was a really big aha moment, and I think it was kind of a level up for the way we thought of the game.
Yeah. And I'm not embarrassed to admit it that Dr. Milan even took me a bit longer because I never really saw you play with it because we didn't play that much when the game was. We only played like when the game was coming out. And I remember when they announced the taboo list and Dr. Milan was on it, I was like, why are they... And like, same with Elusive. I was like, why the fuck are they nerfing these cards? Like, they're just fine. And then I was like, oh, wait, no. As you get and learn more and you look at it, you're like, oh, wait, no, that's actually kind of busted. Right? It's kind of fun. Especially Elusive. I was like, why are they changing that one? And then I'm like, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, of course that one had to be changed. It was kind of wild for a 0 XP card. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our number ones. Drum roll. Honestly, I think if you're watching at home and you watch all our list videos, you could easily guess our number ones here. So let's go in. Let's see what they are. Bryn, what's yours?
I got the Crystallizer of Dreams.
Let's go.
Yeah, so this card actually changed the way that I view approximately 1/3 of the cards in the game. Every time I'm looking at an event and I'm trying to figure out how good I think it actually is, I'm thinking, is it green? What kind of skill icons does it got? Could I play it in a deck with somebody who could also play the Crystallizer of Dreams? If I could, how good would that be? Yeah, and the short answer is yellow cards are kind of broken. Well, maybe not broken, like better than everything else, because a whole lot of their events are like, oh yeah, I also commit for the 2 of the symbol of the thing you use.
It is kind of wild, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of strange. As opposed to blue events, which generally do not commit for 2 punch. They'll commit for all kinds of stuff, but not 2 punch. So it's like a little weird. Not to say that there are no good blue events, because there's definitely evidence that commits for 2 book, and that can be really good. Yeah. There's a lot of them that commit for 2 book, actually.
Well, I wouldn't actually say. I'm not sure I'd say that's like that outward, like I think that the idea behind giving the Guardian events like a little bit of punch and a little bit of something else is to make them more flexible in the Mythos phase. Whereas if they all had punch, like that's all you could ever do, right? There's no actual decision making to be made there. But if they have brain symbol or foot symbol on them, then sometimes you gotta make those tests. Yeah, but like green, like foot is a defensive symbol, but it's also the one that like it's like if it was a blue card, it would commit for like punch foot because punch is the symbol they use, and then foot's like a defensive symbol, right?
I think it's coming mostly as well. It's just kind of like further showcasing. I mean, I guess like Mystics too, because they're just like brain, but it's kind of just showcasing that like Seeker. They like book. That's like they have
what they do.
They have like good enough brains, but they're not as dependent on their things. I agree with what you're saying though, Travis. Like the flexibility of the Guardian cards are a benefit to the Guardian, but less exciting for the Crystallizer.
Yeah,
you don't need defensive stats if you're winning.
Yeah, my point is just that yellow has a whole lot of events that commit for double book.
Yeah.
And not very many that commit for like this one, book and brain.
It's more just yellow.
Or book and foot.
That's yellow for you.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. It's like a little odd. Moral of the story, Crystallizer is exciting in yellow and purple. And like also green, because green gets a lot of events that commit for double of a thing. Doesn't actually matter which one you could pick. And less exciting in blue. Notably less exciting in blue. But it changed the way that I evaluated events.
Yes. Yeah, like I just said, like a third of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not looking so much at what the text box does. Like, that comes later. That comes later. We're looking at the skill icons it commits for and what we could abuse it. Abuse it for.
My number one is 2 cards. It's Stunning Blow and Enraptured. So Enraptured is the mystic card that commits for a book if you during an investigate, if you succeed at a charge or a secret to an asset you control. And they're both here because they have done a big thing for me in this game, which was to push away my old thoughts and biases on card evaluation and how I thought about them in the past, and to constantly be looking at my collection to see the strength of the cards that I may have missed before. When Bryn played Stunning Blow very recently, and I was like, this is actually like incredible. It's now Stunning Blow is in any offensive, even slightly offensive character I can play that can run it. The card is just really good. Enraptured obviously needs a bit of work, right? That needs a little bit more. But like Stunning Blow was a card that I very much undervalued. I was just like, this is just like something I'm like, meh. And like, I have a problem, or I had a problem, where I would like look at cards and I would just write them off. But like at this point now in playing the game, and like Stunning Blow is because of this, I like to look at cards and constantly evaluate them, constantly trying to improve and learn. And this is kind of like what Travis was saying about Dr. Milan, but less about like me realizing the card is good, but more like me being less stubborn about cards. Because now Stunning Blow is my like number 2 choice for a resourceful. And I'll usually actually now sometimes take it before a lucky level 1 or like a level 0 or 2, not a lucky level 3 because I'm not like legitimately insane because that card is broken. But I think if you have not played with Stunning Blow or you don't think Stunning Blow is good, give it another shot. The card is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Especially against massive enemies.
If you ever choose to play Handcuffs instead of Stunning Blow, I'm not saying we'll mail Travis to your house so that he can call you a rinky-dink scrub in person, but like...
You are.
Yeah. Yeah. One of these cards is good all the time, and the other one is good some of the time.
Yeah. And my last point is a segue. It also is practiced. So Travis, what's your number 1?
I was gonna point that out, so I got excited about when you revealed them, Justin. This is practice makes perfect. Every time I see a new skill card, I look to see if it's practiced or not. Every time I'm building a deck that can play practice makes perfect. I look to see how many practice skills I'm already playing and how many I can justify playing. Whether I can justify playing practice makes perfect. This card has completely warped how I play and build the game.
Mm-hmm. There's really not much more to say,
it's
is there?
so
Like,
good
that's
too.
it.
Yeah, no, like it's just...
Yeah.
I've said it all before.
Yep. I knew it would be I knew it would be on Travis's list. I'm not surprised it's here. And honestly, it's me too. Like you talking about it all the time. Now every time I'm building a deck, I'm like practice. I'm like, yeah, I could probably put this in here. And sometimes I like actively choose not to just for variety. But it's exactly that, right? You look at a skill, you see its practice, you're like, maybe I should do this.
How good would it be if I got to do that twice?
And it also, I think I say this every time too, but can you imagine if Kate Winthrop, like this card's like really good in her? Isn't that going to be wild?
I hope so.
Yeah, Kate Winthrop just cares about practiced skills.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
Sick. All right. Before we go, we have one from our patrons here from Superfang. This is Alter Fate level 3. It could be the level 1, obviously. I really should run it more often, but maybe look at every treachery to see if it has an effect that persists and how sick it would be to get rid of it. It really changes how you look at those kind of treacheries. Amen. I think that's also something here, too, at our table. We've kind of had a similar level up with Alter Fate as well. Where, like, this card's actually worth running. Yeah. Yeah. That was a really fun list. I enjoyed making that a lot. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed watching it, consider liking and subscribing. If you're not already subscribed as well, you should let us know in the comments what are cards that changed how you have thought about the game. If you have, even if you've only been playing for like a year, you're always learning. You're always having level ups in these games. So what are some of yours? Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. And as always, GG's.